questions? I'd like to call the meeting to order, 6:30. And could we have a verbal roll call, please? Dr. Sandy?
Sandy Slavin.
Bernie Pigeon. Bob Scanlon.
Jim Gibberti? Okay, Jim Gibberti. Okay. We're gonna have a discussion and possible vote on the recommendation made by town meeting at the annual spring town meeting.
Jimmy, I need to interrupt you for a
Before
minute.
that, excuse me. I neglected to introduce our two new members, Bernie Pigeon, where else are we going here? We have Bob Scanlon, and also we have a guest, in Derek Sullivan, town administrator, and I'm expecting two others that aren't here at the moment, Danny Warren and Bob Gregg from Beta Engineering.
I'm here, Jimmy.
He's here.
We got Bob here, Jimmy. Just can't see.
Oh, Bob is here, okay, good, thank you.
And sorry, before we continue, I have to ask for confirmation that our two new members have been duly sworn in, so they can be voting.
Yes, we have.
Yes. Yep.
Thank
Sworn
you.
in so you can be sworn at.
Yes.
That's the way it goes.
Thank you.
So,
Just,
Wouldn't be the first time.
just for the record, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm
Okay,
done
okay,
interrupting.
back to the meeting. The discussion possible vote on the recommendation made by town meeting at the annual spring town meeting held on April 24th regarding Article 20, termination of contract 2022-001 sewer in the Swiss Beach area. Does anybody have any comments or questions or
Yes,
discussions?
yes, I do, Jimmy.
Go ahead, Peter.
Well, we didn't originate this contract. Are we empowered to cancel it? I mean, I'm all for getting rid of it, but are we allowed to do it? We didn't sign it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this
Go
is
right ahead,
Derek,
Derek.
the town administrator. You absolutely are. It was the Board of Sewer Commissioners that brought this to town meeting, the Board of Sewer Commissioners that did it. So it needs to be the Board of Sewer Commissioners who would vote to rescind or to cancel this contract.
Does that answer your question?
Who was that speaking?
Derek?
Eric?
Yeah, Peter, that was Derek.
That was Derek.
Do you need a motion to recommend accepting?
Yes, I do. Sandy, you have that motion?
First time they couldn't see me.
I'm trying very hard to find it again on my screen. I don't know why it's not coming up. I had it, now I lost it. Again, one more time, Jimmy.
Okay, I'll make the motion, that the commissioners recommend that the town administrator take appropriate steps to terminate contract 2022-001.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Made and seconded.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is Derek for discussion. I'm okay for doing that as the chief procurement officer, but again, this should be from the sewer commissioners on your letterhead that you're voting that you're going to cancel this contract. I have no problem writing it up for you and putting it together, and then whatever happens thereafter, working on it, it should be coming from the sewer commissioners.
Okay, we'll
But
get
we
that
didn't
motion.
sign it, Derek.
Right, you voted the whole way along to do it, so it
No,
needs to be.
we never approved it, Derek.
You never approved to do this job, to bring it to town meeting, to,
We never approved the contract with Bayer.
so that's really confusing because the only ones that could have put this on a town meeting warrant, that could have voted to put it on it, to go through the whole way, are the Board of Sewer Commissioners. So are you telling us the Board of Sewer Commissioners did nothing?
Oh, I'm saying we did not sign the contract with the contract.
Correct.
It's
We-
by charter.
Right.
the only person allowed to sign a contract, regardless of what committee it is, it's Derek. Even the school department has to go through
That's
Derek.
correct.
But,
So that our action as a committee is required, because he does that in conjunction with those committees.
but Peter, we voted to approve the article to submit to town meeting for the funding. So now we are canceling the project, therefore rescinding the funding, so to speak.
Correct.
I like the language of the motion.
What kind of language would you like, Peter?
Would you like me to repeat the motion?
No, I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, fine. Is there any other discussion on this?
So, Mr. Chairman, to confirm, I will draft something, you as the chairman will sign that, and we will move it
Yes.
forward.
We'll be doing that tomorrow, hopefully.
Great.
Okay?
So,
Never clap before the vote.
to confirm, you will have something ready for tomorrow for signature.
Well, apparently he wants me to have it by tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not in, but I'll sure try. Jimmy, we'll get it done.
So
Monday at the latest.
Monday at the latest, because Jimmy, we have to, some way of getting it
We have to
to,
take a vote on this.
I know, but we have to get it to you.
First of all, we have to take a vote on this.
Yeah.
Which we will.
Okay,
We haven't taken a vote yet. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Bob?
Aye.
Bob Scanlon. Sandy?
aye.
Peter?
Yes,
Bernie?
Yes.
And Jim Gibberty? Yes. So the vote is 5-0-0 with the affirmative.
And that was, Jimmy made the motion and Bernie seconded, did I get that right?
Yes.
Peter?
Or Peter for
seconded
second.
it.
Put Peter down for second.
Jimmy made the motion, Peter seconded, vote was 5-0-0 to authorize the cancellation of this contract 2022001.
Affirmative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Okay, I'd like to take a brief second here and welcome Danny Warren to the group. And to move on to the next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible vote regarding alternate plans for sewer improvements repairs for Wampico, Murphy, Barnes, Pleasant, and Bayview.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, our original motion for the funding included Columbia Street, and it's Bayview Ave, not street.
That's fine, we'll correct that as we go along.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if you may, this is Derek again.
Yeah.
I think you
go
can
ahead,
see
Derek.
me now. Moved over to the side, so yeah, I appreciate your time on Mr. Warren. We have him here. I know we've been talking about alternatives, and one of the things is to really marry the concept of what's best for the sewer plant and what's best for the neighborhood, which leaves you with what's probably the most appropriate process. So when we talk about best, I think we need to figure out, we're talking about what's in the best interest for everybody, including the plant and the owners of the home, our residents and ratepayers in this situation. So that's, I will tell you this, what you're going to see tonight did not exist when you voted on this before. It did not exist until not too long ago. So we feel we're lucky to have the expertise of Mr. Warren. We also have Mr. Drake here tonight to go over a few things. So what I'm going to do is I've been handed a thumb drive, and they feel I'm the most technically savvy. So I will run the laptop, and Mr. Warren will do his show. Danny, the camera's right there. So what I think would be best
If I go over there?
Yeah, it's right between these two. Would you mind if we took that chair out? And Mr. Warren brought his stuff there, and we can do this sort of shimmy well.
I wanna leave,
Well, let Danny come here.
Oh, Danny gonna come this one?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
we'll
he's
just move
facing
everything.
the camera. We need a chair, though.
Yeah, I'll give him this one. I'll give him this one back.
Okay,
So he can just come over here with his toys.
it is not a thigh bone of a Tyrannosaurus rex.
He grows oysters.
Good evening.
where did my technician go?
Over there.
Oh,
Very good.
Oh, look at that. Just after graduating from Wareham High
those are
School.
the early days of the endeavor.
He had nice teeth back there anyways.
I wanna stand up. Hi, I'm Danny Warren, you just haven't met me, but I grew up here and I like the place. As you see, I started the company very, very young. That's the old State House. It was one of the first big jobs I ever did. I rebuilt the steeple. First thing I ever developed that was out of the ordinary was I made a turnbuckle set that would straighten a steeple and put the strength back in it for future generations. So I did the Wellfleet Church. I did a bunch of churches. I did work in the old State House with it all over the place. And I was 24 in that picture. On the other side, that's waterproofing the outfall behind the State Police Barracks on the Pleasant Bay Passage. It was just pouring water, and we stopped that. And it was 85 feet deep and 55 across. Next slide. What got us here tonight and brought us here tonight was the problem out on Swiss Beach. I was asked by Mr. Campina and by Derek Sullivan and by Jim Gibberti to try to come up with a better way to lose the pumps. We had many meetings and talked about trying to figure out how to get away from the pumps. There was no way because the stumbling block was asbestos pipe. The minute people hear the word, it's just no, don't touch it, don't go near it, don't have nothing to do with it. I come up with what I thought was a better way, and we approached the state with some help from Senator Pacheco and retired Senator Goldman, but mostly Senator Pacheco. And they agreed to give us an audience at least. And once they saw what I had come up with, they become very interested in helping. Then we decided to keep it quiet in a circle until I proved that all this stuff worked. It wasn't just in theory. And none of the equipment really existed yet. So I built all that equipment. So I'm gonna pass this around. There's no asbestos in this at all. I did this over in the yard where I'm doing the marina, but I did drill holes in the ground and make trenches in the ground, fill it up with muddy water, and I had to figure out something that would simulate the asbestos pipe. So I'm gonna start passing this around. When you look at it, it looks like pencil marks. That's a fluorescent light bulb tube. That's the closest thing I could come up to that would want to shatter and act like the asbestos is going to act when we start going to work on it. So, as you can see, there's the new pipe. That would be your new pipe. And I'll explain to you how this whole thing goes together now. As we started looking into it, we had to satisfy all these rules the state had for dealing with an asbestos pipe. So it took a long time. That's why some of you probably see me out there on early Sunday mornings and different times of the day, just walking back and forth, looking at the thing and trying to figure it out. And so once I got the idea in my head what I was gonna do, I started working on getting a resin chemical blend that would be non-toxic, but would trigger by water. And I got it to do that. And that's common in our industry, as Bob will tell you. But the trick was getting it to do it on demand, not when it wanted to. And I was able to do that. So I made a model that was nowhere near as good as this. How anyone wants to see the old model, I'll show you. And the state thought it was the best thing they had ever seen. So they said, go forward and keep figuring it out, and we'll try to help. So I don't want to get into a whole bunch of those conversations, but one thing was made clear. Secrecy was very important because rumors get started and people start imagining things and, oh my God, it's asbestos. And so we had it totally under, we thought, something that was going to absolutely pass before we approached again. And Derek worked on it diligently with the state. I backed out after showing him the concept. And from then on, when it was Derek's, and he handled it with the help of the board. So, the way this worked, next slide, please. Oh, that slide you're looking at, back up one, please. That slide you're looking at there, we had to hydro excavate out there to see where these utilities are, gas, electric, water, and all of that. So some of you might have saw that giant white truck out there. Well, that truck was incredible. And we went down and found the water lines. We found your water main from 1932, so I'm glad to tell you you're gonna be getting a brand new one. The gas mains, we found those. We found another small water main that's also gonna be replaced. So, not to get the cart before the horse, but at the bottom line is, when this is done, if we get it approved, and I'm sure we will, because we have to do it as a community, we have to do it as a solid community, trying to solve a problem, and then I think the state's gonna help us. And we got some heavy hitters trying to help us. And we believe they'll help us very quickly, because not only will this solve our problem, it's gonna solve a problem worldwide. It's everywhere. People get in shock when they find out that drinking water is going through asbestos pipes all over America. Well, the hard fact it is, about between 40 and 60% of all the water pipes in this country are made out of asbestos. So it's a huge problem. They've never been able to deal with it. Just yesterday, I was in the water department here in town, and I heard those guys talking. They were complaining that they just removed 3 small pieces, and it cost almost $5,000, and they weren't there 2 hours. But that was not really what it cost. That was the beginning. That was to get it out of the ground here. The time they ship it for processing and handling and getting rid of it, it'll probably be at least 3 times, if not 5 times that amount of money. Next slide, Derek. So this was a concept drawing that my son put together. And it's the way you want to do this. You don't want to go through the pipe and break it all up. You want to try to keep it in as few pieces as possible, but you want to be able to capture any place you're going to cut through the asbestos pipe. You want to capture all those scrapings. So we figured out that the best thing to do would be to scribe the pipe and build a head that does not exist. From ground up, we had to build it, and it's already built. And that was a big order, but we got it done.
So there's no cutting, no breaking, anything?
There's no cutting, there's no sawing, there's none of that. And you'll see that in a little bit later on in the presentation. So, but this is worst case scenario. Say if the pipe was all broke up, this material goes crazy when it sees water. So anything that does scratch or come off as we're going is falling into a pool of this. So as the head's going through breaking it up, or scribing it and moving it apart, instead of breaking it up, it'll come across in 4 pieces, even pieces, just like that little piece you're looking at in your hand. And I got the idea of using the fluorescent light bulb, because as we know, when you touch them, they're gone in a million pieces. I was able to describe that and make it break more reasonable and more like the real world. I got another piece out in the truck that I didn't bring in, but it shows that really well. So then it migrates. If there's a void or anything, it'll find it and fill it in. So all the dirt around, as you see here, that's a 1-inch pipe. But this was power washed at 3,000 PSI. This is like concrete now. That's going nowhere. But if you look right in here and you take your finger and you push that, it's a little bit soft around that because it needed water. And it locked off out here and no more water could get in, so it stopped curing, which is good. Now it stays like a sponge, and it'll cradle that new pipe and the rise and the low, and it'll help all the way around. The structure is going to be phenomenal, but you're not going to break this ever. So, next slide, please. This is how it works. The head is being pulled from left to right. We're going to have to dig a pit down there at Bayview and that intersection. The pit is very expensive. It's crazy expensive because there's so much water out there. But we got to get down to the depth that pipe is and a little bit below it. Then we got to create a hard bottom because there's not one out there. We bored 50 feet the other day and we still had water. And that's where it becomes impossible. And that's where when the sewer board and everybody looked at this in the first place, they knew they had no place to turn because it's impossible. And the last guy tried out there went totally bankrupt really fast. So we looked at all these threats and all these problems, and we figured out how to deal with that. I picked a company called D'Alessandro because I did a ton of work with them for Boston Water and Sewer and the MWRA. They're phenomenal. Up on Wharf Street, I went up there, they were down 40 feet in the sand, fixing a pipe. And I said, but they are the best, no getting around it. So as this thing comes through, the new head looks pretty much like that, but I modified it and did a bunch of changes on it to make it act like a piston. So, and that'll be later on too, so I don't wanna get ahead of myself, but that's how it's gonna work. Down here on the end, the braking system, I've designed that. It's not gonna be a chain or a cable, because they'll jump up and down. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just, before all this, could you just address, what is the specific problem? They keep mentioning a problem at One Kinko. What is the actual problem that we're trying to solve here?
Okay, I'll tell you what the problem is. The thing has always been leaking, ocean water pouring in, because when the last guy fixed it, it went bankrupt. We found more of his sins yesterday when we were vacuuming it. The problem is, out about 20 feet from that manhole at Wakinko, at Bayview, when they installed it, a pipe come out of joint, so it was dropped. And then a contract came out for my company to line it. And we looked at the videos, we looked at everything, we videoed it and looked at it, and we decided that, yeah, we can get through that. So, and make it workable. So we did that. And then we went out there, and I made another machine that I could go in with a camera, and I made a thing out of heavy lay-flat fire hose that was the same size as that pipe. And I made like a sawhorse out of metal that I could get a camera down there. So I hooked up an air compressor, and I put some pins around where I knew that pipe was. And I slowly, half a pound of pressure every 2 hours, I kept lifting that pipe until I had it in alignment. Then I shot, very similar to this grout underneath it, and I had it almost back in alignment. And when we did that, this is interesting also. We were pouring these 16-foot long pins to go in because that pipe is so deep. I had the whole board, I put the pin in it, I turned to get the wrench and turned back, the pin was gone. And I knew right then we were in big trouble because that pin was just gone. And so we did get it back in alignment, so here's where the problems come in. We put the notices out, we had two public awareness meetings, one in the building and one at another location. And we talked about how important it was to kill the sump pumps and not have the sump pumps. Because when we're lining, we're holding that pressure, we hold it 5 to 7 pounds, and we figure out what the pressure is per atmosphere, it's 15 pounds per every 30 feet. So we get it to where we can inflate and hold back normal groundwater. And then we shot our liners. We had one curing this way, one curing that way at the same time. It was cold, it was winter, it was bad conditions. The rain come in, the tide come in, and the sump pumps came on. So every place the sump pump come on, it was making around 20 to 24 pounds of pressure. So it blew out in behind the liner, made a bubble. The liner's still trying to cure because we got those giant boiler trucks heating that line. So you had a bulge right there, and then as it went down, it turned into a fin that was about 4 inches tall in the pipe, just like a shark fin, all the way down, tapering down to nothing. When we put the cameras in and we saw those fins, we couldn't believe what we were seeing. Because we went to every house and said, no, 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 no. Well, the houses that the pumps got left on, I've heard, oh, it was 20 pumps, it was 30 pumps. No, it was 5 pumps. And they all had something in common. They were elderly people, one in a nursing home in Florida, one was, he was an ex-Marine, very decorated Marine from World War II. He was in Boston and he was being honored at a dinner. He had no way to know. The letter actually got put on the wrong door because he had a wheelchair ramp, so they assumed wheelchair. Nope, he was still fighting the stairs. So, and the other one, they were out of town, and everywhere that happened, that resin still cured because we were hitting with 2 million BTUs of steam. We were hitting it hard. So it was hot, hot, hot in there, right? And we got the cure. So then when we went into cut, we have an anhydride base that is unbelievably hard. It's the same material they make the triggers for nuclear bombs. It's got an endless life expectancy. So it was very hard to cut. So we cut all we could and did all we could, trying to get it right. And then right there where that pipe had come unjointed at that manhole at Bayview, that was right where that pipe was out of joint. And I'm suspecting that the same thing happened to those guys, that it got pushed. But it got pushed, now it's offset, it's not only down, but it's offset also. So we got that back open so it would flow, and you'd have to go out there 2 or 3 times, maybe a year, and just send a jetter up through it to make sure it didn't get clogged with wipes and stuff like that, plugged. Another guy went out to do the job. He didn't go from east to west like he was told. He went the other way, and he got his jetter underneath that liner. So then the jetter has a lot of power and a lot of force. So the jetter, the head's about this big around, it's under the liner, pushing the liner up even more now, and he gets in there and gets it stuck. Then when he realizes it's asbestos pipe and you can't just pull it back out with brute force, because if you break the pipe, the ocean's coming in and there's no way to stop that. So, and I believe wholeheartedly, there's no way in the world Guy Campina knew that happened, or that guy would have never got out of this town alive. They cut that pipe and they left. So now you got the jetter head under the liner, and you got the 1-inch pipe in there with it, catching more debris. So that's the problem.
And how many, houses would you say in this area that's, you know, that you just mentioned, Bayview to Columbia to Pleasant, how many sump pumps versus houses on town sewer? I mean, how many people with sump pumps?
I have no idea.
We do not know.
Yeah, we don't know, and that's the problem with sump pumps. They're either in a basement or they're in a crawl space. Like one of the ones that night that came on, I went to the door and I said, did you not shut off your sump pump? And he said, we don't have one. I said, well, I know you do, because where it was, it had to be that house. And they said, we really don't have one. I said, do you own the house or you rent the house? We rent the house. Where's the owner? He's in Florida. Got a phone number? Yeah, I called him. Got a sump pump? Yep, it's out back off the porch. I got a little shed right there. Just open up the door, you'll see it down there. And I did, I seen it, and it was running. So that was that. So there's no way to know how many, but now let's move forward. We did about 1,800 feet on that job. A lot of it is good, but every place those pumps went on is very bad. So we spent way more than we were paid trying to make it right, and but digging was never an option out there because of the pipe. Because the law says you can't dig within a foot of an asbestos pipe. No way, no way, no way, unless you got the whole crew there to cut it into pieces, bag it, tag it, and ship it out of state. And once you start, there's no stopping. You're gonna take it all. So, on the next job we did, just so you understand, we used the same resin, we used the same everything, but we shot the big line that came up across behind the school and all the way down behind on Main Street, across the High Street, down behind the fire department, and all the way up to the pump station. That was all shot with only one incident of a problem. We now got smart, we're trying to keep cameras on everything. As we started shooting the very first liner, every house had been gone to, everybody had been asked to please shut off your pumps, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Everybody swore they wouldn't. We're putting the first liner in, there it is, we see the thing bulging out. Guy Campini was in his truck, he went right to that house, he found a house with the second house, he said, I know there's a pump, I know there's a pump. Well, there was a pump. So we drug that liner out, $68,000. It's up in my cranberry bog. We had to drag it out and throw it away. So this was brutal. So then I went and saw a few houses and said, look guys, here's the law. You're not supposed to have sump pumps. If I lose one more liner, I'm taking a house because this has got to stop. So we shot the whole rest of that job without incident until we got to the middle behind on, what do you call it? Merchant's Way. And then we're televisioning everything before we go now, right? Halfway down Merchant's Way, there was concrete this thick in the bottom of the pipe all the way to the pump station. So we put our small guys on skateboards and slid them in there with a jackhammer and took all that out. And we lined, and we didn't get paid a dime for that, because that was an unknown for everybody. But it was in the middle of the night, and we found we had to get rid of it. So we took it out and we lined it, so that whole job was absolutely perfect. Coming up to after the house had the one pump on. So, any more to your question, are we good?
No, thank you.
Okay, next one please.
Folks, just make sure if you're on Zoom that you have it muted, please.
I can check my fucking products.
Wow, nice language. Mute yourself, please.
She said, I don't
Was
know.
that the other contractor? It sounded like it.
Might have been
She
the other
used an
contractor.
she used an effing word.
I don't know. But, so anyway, here was,
Danny, just one thing, on the old slide, just in case this picture gets anywhere, that, this was an older one which said cutting roller on there. It's a
Correct, yeah, that's not, that's something clipped out of an ad,
Okay.
all right? So there's no cutting roller, we have a scribe. A roller, because if you, yes, sir?
One question, is there any way the town can make sure there's no sub pumps going into the sewer?
Yeah, there
It
is.
shouldn't be,
Yeah, there is. And I'll tell you
why
how.
it doesn't happen?
I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna happen. And it's up to them if they do it to you, but there's definitely a way, because Florida got smart.
Yeah. I
You know how
mean,
you know, here's how you do it.
Now,
this down age.
this has to be
it
another discussion
Yeah.
point. Can he finish
Yeah,
this?
another
Okay, I'm
discussion for
sorry.
I
another
mean, we've
time.
had 3 years of trying to find a way to in some pumps, and we could not find a solution.
Well, there's a way.
Well,
Yeah,
people
put
don't
smoke-
like the way.
Put smoke in everybody's house.
No, no,
Okay,
no. Go
ahead.
another topic,
Since you
continue.
brought it
No- Another topic for another day. Yes, yes, ma'am. Oh, I thought you wanted to ask me a question. No? Okay. So, here's how the solution that I vision it, and we've done a lot of work with Bob, and Bob's company's been out there with us, and that's what all the noise was for the last few days, to make absolutely sure before I come in here tonight and said this. We have enough elevation. The red line is gonna be a new line. So we're gonna drop down at Bayview going east. And all the houses in there, it's just gonna be a brand new line put up above. The red is a brand new line made out of seamless HDPE pipe. The white lines going up with the checks, those are simulating new laterals going back to every house out of HDPE welded, can never, ever, never leak, period. From the street where it goes onto your property, we won't be going onto your property. But we can tell you now, you have asbestos pipe from the street where it goes onto your property, under your house, into your building. That can be fixed, but it's really not the town's obligation to do that. But it can definitely be fixed, and it's done every day. Matter of fact, the entire state of Florida is being done every day. So it'll drop down like that, and all the houses will tie in. So the very first step of the new process, the first house to my left, our left, from where I'm standing, we will start right there, all the way back, and we'll run a brand new pipe. And every house on that section down to the turn will be on a brand new system dropping into that manhole down there. Then when that's done and that's all tied in, and nobody's gonna be without their ability to use their plumbing, then we'll come back, we will dig a trench right where that line is going down to the X. That's gonna be a big trench, and it's gonna be wicked expensive to do, because we gotta go down 30 to 35 feet long by 20 feet wide. We gotta create a workable bottom ourselves, and then we gotta drop a very expensive, very heavy machine down there that's gonna pull ahead from west to east. And so down on this end now, we gotta build a gradual ramp up into that dirt road that goes along. And we'll be welding the pipe together there, and we'll be pulling it through once we get our trench box down. We're not using chains or cables, because they'll jerk. We're gonna be using little I-beams, H-beams, that will bolt together, and they'll have a carrier wheel every so often to keep it absolutely level. We're gonna very slowly pull that through. The new head will have 4 razor sharp, and it's already built, razor sharp scribes. And they start narrowly coming up the bullet and getting bigger as it goes, so that the pipe gently gets cut and gently gets spread apart and it doesn't break. And then, as you can see with this, and I'll send this around, like I say, there's nothing in this to hurt you. You can see those little lines you see, that is a fluorescent light bulb. And we proved that we could make it work. Then we did it with a bigger piece with a tube, a cardboard tube, and proved that would work. So we've done about 6 models, they've all worked. This one was actually vertical, and it clumb up 4 feet and come out all over the ground at the top after it had lined this whole thing and locked all the dirt up around it. So, the next slide, please. So that's just a picture of the vertical one, light bulb, and that's the horizontal one that we dug a pit, filled it with mud, and then lined through it. It's in the back of my truck, and anyone wants to see it. It actually did better, because it had more water to work with. This one up here, as we did it, we added that full of water and sand and rock at the same time, making sure we didn't break our light bulb after we cut the end off it. Then we had a plunger that we could put the resin to it, and we pushed it through. And when that material broke, and then when we broke the end out of the light bulb and the water was there, it kicked off just like that, bang, done. So, next slide, please. So that's just another picture. I actually left one in the ground in case anyone would like to come over and see it get dug up. We will do that with you. Throw some little trinkets in there or something. Next slide, please.
You got it in there, a couple gallons of water with it.
Do you want me to go next?
Yeah, you can let that go. I already told them what that's gonna say.
Come to the outside wall. You're gonna finish it up, so we'll go.
All right, so there's my guy, Asa. He's starting the excavation because we didn't know what we were gonna find and we didn't wanna break it. And if it was still soft, we wanted to know that. So, next slide, Derek. So there it is, all excavated. The only reason it's standing there is because it's glued to the back wall. We had to fight it off the back wall with the hammer, just like we did the front wall. So, next one, please. All right, this will play. This is the head.
Right where the finger is where the new pipe will slide in and be bolted to the head.
Can you pause that for a second?
With the pulling ring on the other end. This is our port.
All right, so can you back it up just here? Is that possible or no? Leave it right there. All right, so that inner ring is the size of the idea of the pipe that's out there right now.
Should I take that away from you?
Oh, Jimmy,
Yeah.
you see the picture he just put up about putting the pipe in and the picture?
I can't see any of that.
Oh, well, if you have your TV on, you would.
Oh, I'll try that then. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
I'll tell you what, it's exactly what I suggested. And Russ, Keegan said it can't be done because we don't have enough pipe. You can't start out at 4 feet and expect to get there.
What's he saying?
I think Peter's just saying something he had referenced before, and it was an idea that he had, so.
Yeah, and, oh, I understand. They didn't think they had the slope to get the flows. And I went out there with Derek's permission, and I went in the manhole with properly, and I bored some holes, and I did some measurements to see where the water was and to see where that pipe really was, because there was some crazy information floating around about the pipe. So once we verified that, I hired a man that's a great engineer that used to sit on this board. And I said, here's my calculations, Mac, what do you think? And he came back and said, absolutely, it works. So then, I told Derek, and then I told Derek that this guy is an expert, no ifs, ands, or buts. And I had Bob look at it, and he said, this works. So we had the slope, no doubt about it. So now then we can lay that new pipe in there, get the slope, get everybody hooked up and go. So now we're down to down below where the asbestos pipe is. And this is the big target. I mean, Swiss Beach is a nightmare for you guys. Well, the same nightmare is all over this world, because I've worked in everywhere. I mean everywhere. I never went to China and I never went to Russia because I don't like them, but I went a whole bunch of in between. So the pipe will slide over the outside of the inner ring and then be bolted down tight all the way around. The 1-inch pipe or the 5/8 pipe sticking out, that's going to carry the grout. The grout will be tied into a machine that'll make 4,000 pounds of pressure and move 12 gallons a minute. Can you show it a little bit more, Derek,
Yep.
so I can turn the machine?
Just tell me one.
Yep.
Ring on the other end.
Stop it.
Oh, jeez. That's so much for tech savvy. Okay, talk, well, I'll be right there again.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Milan?
ma'am.
Very simple. The grout is to keep it from leaking, is that?
No.
What is the grout for?
When you're scribing, okay, this is an asbestos pipe.
Right where the finger is where the new pipe will slide in and be bolted to the head and be pulled through with the pulling ring on the other.
All right. So now then, when you're scribing, you want everything to fall back inside the pipe because that machine is pumping that grout in. It's just like syrup. It's not going to get away from it. Then when you crack the pipe, then all that grout's going to be exposed to the water and it's going to wrap right around just like it did this. And any asbestos that's on the outside of this dirt, because you can guarantee your life it's out there after all these years, it all gets encapsulated. Now, this was power washed at 3,000 PSI because I didn't want a bunch of stuff crumbling in here tonight. This was out like this before I power washed it. So everything gets caught. Now, also in this model, we took regular insulation and cut it up and spread it up and sprinkled it in there like it was asbestos to see what would happen in with the dirt. So that's what we're trying to do. So now that's what got the real attention and the assistance from state and the DEP was, my God, they're gonna stop having to dig these pipes up and paying millions and millions and millions of dollars to get rid of it. I'll tell you now, if you try to get rid of all the asbestos down Waukegan, you'd be in shock of what that would cost. Every house out there ain't worth what that would cost. And that's the truth. So now then, you can see the scribes on the side. That's special steel, and they are sharp like you wouldn't believe. So we're gonna be pulling slow, and it's gonna gradually cut it and just push it off this side. And that grout's gonna be getting out, locking it up as it goes. And let it play again, Derek. And towards the back of the machine, I've got water ports coming in.
Port for the ground, there'll be ports back here for the water, and that's our pulling ring right there.
Stop it right there, Derek.
These scribes will gently.
Sorry to do
Danny,
it.
I've got the touchpad on this, so let me try and use
Oh,
this.
that's okay. And another question, please?
Well, I need, you saw the slide that talked about the road being torn up. How long will Waukegan be closed?
Okay, we believe with what we learned this week, on that first stretch from the curve to Bayview, we think that's gonna take between 7 and 9 days.
But you also have to, we're gonna be replacing, that's just to
Oh,
describe the pipe.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bob.
We also have to lay a new sewer, which will take about a week, and also a new water main in that area, which will take about another, so I would say about a month, Sandy.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you're gonna have to, you'll lose the use of Waukegan for a period of time.
Better than having pumps.
And you'll lose
Just,
it.
But that's just between
Bayview
Bayview
and
and
the
Swiss
turn.
Beach,
it's,
just
yes,
that one
it's not
block.
the other 5 streets.
So you
No.
will have
Yeah,
access around and
We
so
can
on.
get around.
So, yeah.
Okay,
So,
No, we'll park up the street and walk.
so,
We'll build them a ticket.
sorry.
If an
it's
old
okay,
swim.
that's all right, that's all right. So, you wanna go in the corner?
You wanna try again?
So, if you look right behind the rusty ring, the black thing, that's a rubber gasket that we had made in record time, and now those ports right there is where the resin's coming out. You see that cut out right there in between my 2 fingers? That's for another rubber ring, which is gonna, the resin's gonna be coming out in there under high pressure. Those things are gonna be torqued down to take that pressure, and then that pressure's gonna be helping push the pipe away too without breaking it as we're moving through the line. But they're also going to trap it so it can't go forward or backwards. So as we're moving forward, that's gonna act like a piston and drive that stuff even further out into the dirt as we go. And we've got it figured out, how much pumps we need, how much pressure we need, how much everything we need to make this all happen. So, once it's going, and it'll be sealing up fast behind us, once it hits water, it's not messing around, it goes. We did a 4-ounce cup. When it cured out, it was this high before it fell over, and it continued to clear out. And it was, I got it in the truck, I can show you. So, next slide, please, or a little further on this slide.
Back here for the water, and there's our pulling ring right there, and that'll come through, and these scribes will gently cut the pipe as it goes up, and keep us increasing a little bit as it pulls, so there'll never be any real stress on this.
And I said cut, but I should have said separate, because see the way they're angled? As it pulls, it'll get deeper, but it'll keep spreading it apart. And by doing it that way, you're not gonna create a bunch of stuff in the bottom of that pipe, it's gonna be pressing it to the side.
Yeah, that's the number one thing, it is not cutting it.
It's
is
scribing
not-
it.
Correct,
We're scribing it.
so.
It's
so deep in the ground, why does it matter?
Well, I'll tell you exactly why it matters. Believe it or not, there are people that believe that incredible smart asbestos fiber is gonna find its way to the surface and kill somebody. The law is the law, and they won't budge. And there's a town in Florida, right outside of Orlando, they said enough's enough, we're just gonna do it. So they went out and they pipe burst at 35 miles. Now they wanna condemn the entire community in town. Oh, it's a horror show. Yes, ma'am.
So you can't just encapsulate the old pipes with some wrap or something and then just lay new pipes in it?
You can absolutely do that after you've dug up the whole street, 17 feet down, bypassed, overpumped the Atlantic Ocean and didn't, you can't, you just can't. It's gonna cost us to do just to
This
put,
is more cost effective.
let's put some numbers on it, just so you can really understand. To build the pit, to do that one stretch, just the pit, it's gonna cost $350,000.
And you need 2 pits.
And we need 2 pits.
And has this been done before somewhere?
Oh,
This
yes,
particular-
everywhere.
Everywhere?
But not with asbestos, it's been done with iron pipe, clay pipe, concrete pipe. You can't, and this is really important that everyone understand. The town had no choice when they were looking at this, because the law, and we still don't have the law changed. And everybody in this community can help change a law that's gonna change the world. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about what I'm saying. Bob, idea, how big is the market?
Oh, it's worldwide.
It's worldwide. I'm not gonna get into the names of the towns, but I know one town that's got 114 miles of it carrying their drinking water. I know another town that's got 22 miles of it carrying their drinking water. I know another town that's got over 100 miles, and they can't pump drinking water at high tide because so much salt water is getting in that they can't make the water drinkable. And it's all asbestos, and it's everywhere. And no one's ever been able to try to fix
Can
it.
we,
Folks, if you are on Zoom, there's some that, please make sure you're muted, we're getting a lot of feedback.
Danny, doesn't Plymouth have that problem now?
Yeah, but I can't say their names. I don't know.
Yeah,
The
they're-
Pilgrims brought it with them, though. And if you wonder where it came from, it was from our dear friends in Canada. So, but anyway, and they're glad to take it back now and burn it for $1 bazillion once we get it over the border to them. So, anyway, this is designed to do a specific thing, to take care of a specific problem. And it will work. I've modeled it every way I can and given it every opportunity to fail. And like I say, the early models that we showed the state, they were horrible. I didn't want to show them, but I had to show them something. And they said, that's the best thing we've ever seen. And that's why we've always said no over 100 times. So next, Derek, a little more of this?
Can I just ask about the cost again?
Disjointed in the
In
will all
the-
be a soft, gentle.
No, you,
Let's get off this slide, because I don't want Derek to get technically flipped out over there.
So I think
That's-
we're done.
Yeah, we're done with that slide. What was your question?
so when you're talking about total cost though, it'll probably be still less than what,
It will be
The
less.
original.
It will be less.
yeah, so,
And here's what you gotta remember. The worst street you got out there is that street. As we go up, the costs are gonna be much more controllable. And the other thing is, once people stop being afraid. Now, here's the one snag that I'm trying
Can
to
I
deal
just say
with.
one thing, Danny? The reason why the costs are gonna be less, because the pipe is shallower.
yeah.
So when you're creating that access pit, or launching pad and receiving pits, you're down 17 feet, the pipe is down 17 feet. The sheeting to support those walls have to be down 35, 40 feet.
Correct.
So when you get down, all the way down by Murphy, the sewer pipe is only 8 foot deep. So that sheeting has to be can be a lot shallower.
Right, and you have much less influence of the tide trying to destroy you. But here's what to remember. The price tags, all the electrical lines are gonna have to be shielded. Some gas mains are gonna have to be moved. That's all and the town's already got all of that underway. They're pushing to get this stuff done. But at the end of the day, it is still gonna be less. It's gonna be gravity forever. And,
Did you want that out?
was that the end of it? I just
That
wanted.
was the end of the.
Oh,
wasn't
okay,
it?
fine. Remember the slide that had the red line going down it? Can you get that back? Is that doable?
Sure. Yeah,
Because I really want to answer this question in a way that.
Yeah, that's perfect, and I'm going to be a wet blanket, because I've been reminded you guys did not put public hearing on this, so we can get in
That
trouble
is
for
correct.
the open meeting law with the.
yes,
Just,
all the questions
I know.
we cannot, it's not open meeting. It's not open to questions or participation or anything.
And it's not my law, folks, I promise you. So, and I know, Danny, you want to give as much info as possible.
We can't do
but-
Q&A.
I got you, okay.
Through a discussion under that phrase?
Nope, there is nothing in here about public discussion on the agenda.
Discussion.
No,
Yes.
Well, Ben's, I've done it wrong this far. Let me do this one slide so I can answer her question, because it's a very important question. That's
Go back.
Where do I go?
the red, right there. And this is another thing, and I know I've talked a long time, so I'm gonna wrap it up. That red pipe is the new pipe, The little dotted lines are the new laterals, and then down below, we clear the blockage and we line that. So now here's what you got. You've got every neighborhood has an automatic clean out and an automatic safety catch. You've got something that's never, ever, never gonna leak again. You've got a new water main, you've got a new gas main, you've got all kind of utilities changed out there in this. It's gonna make your value go up on your properties, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're gonna find, once this is approved by the state, everybody that's got this situation in the towns are gonna have to react. Because if there's no way to fix it, I've done a ton of work in Atlanta and DeKalb County, Georgia. I flew there every week for 16 years. I did 15,000 projects in DeKalb alone. They've got an asbestos problem that it won't quit, and they've kept their mouth shut about it. They've done nothing because there was absolutely no way to fix it. I was working with Congressman Charlie Norwood and the EPA 10 years ago with the University of South Carolina on this subject, and Charlie got killed in a car wreck and it all stopped. But the thing is, I can show you research that I've done in school, all the way back to that far, on how to end this problem. So, your question was, again,
In general.
in general,
it'll be
the cost is going to be
than
less.
that original project of.
Yes,
constructing
with
the-
all this that you're seeing here, it's still gonna be less. And,
Really?
and it's gonna last forever. You're gonna be on gravity, you're never gonna have to worry about it again.
So can I make a comment, not a question?
Not a comment,
Not a question,
yeah, yeah.
just a comment. And I may be speaking for myself, but a lot of the community has spent a lot of time talking about this and making this happen and trying to make this happen. I hope the sewer commission, I know I'm speaking for myself and can jump in, the sewer commission shouldn't feel like it's an us against them. I still feel a little bit of tension that they feel like they need to defend themselves. We understand that a year ago, you didn't have this information. The contract was put through with the information that you all had,
Right.
and now there's all new information, there's new technology. There's Danny, I feel like you were from some heaven somewhere
No,
for us.
I'm from Southern Illinois,
So-
1 and 12, never had a
From
bicycle.
somewhere. So I don't know, I personally don't feel like it was a sewer commission versus the community. And now we're all on the same,
We're all
We're
in
on
the
the
same
same
place,
boat.
on the same plane, but I'm not bragging on me, I'm bragging on the community. We gotta do this together. If we do this together, I'm telling you, what we're doing for, not just here, the world. Guam, every pipe on Guam is asbestos. In the Navy, I've worked a lot with the Navy. I'm a Navy certified contractor, Navy certified supplier. They asked me, put your hat on, figure this out. And there was no figuring it out. And I'm just telling you the truth, I got whacked by a car on the 16th, right after these guys asked me, as I was laying in bed, 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I said, holy crap, I can fix this. I went downstairs and I wrote it up, and that's the truth.
I feel like
Yes.
It's a breath of fresh air.
this may put Wareham on the map of technology, innovation, and.
Well, that's what the state seems to think, and I know a couple of senators really want their name on it.
My question is, why is the pipe only 4 inches?
Only 4 inches?
Isn't that what it says, 4 inches wide?
4 feet.
Oh,
4 feet wide?
no, that's your, no,
That's
that's
the
your
depth.
lateral. That's your lateral coming from your house. They're all 4 inches everywhere.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
No,
No, not a question, a thought.
in doing the research, I heard that Situate had the same situation we did, and they were facing grinders. What did they do to fix the situation?
put in the
'Cause they
grinders.
didn't get grinders.
I think they put in the grinders.
They did.
They did put in the grinders?
Yeah.
They did not. They
Oh,
dug it out, they stuck the pipe, and they assessed everybody $18,000 per homeowner to do it.
Oh, yeah, rather than do the grinder pump, they did the work. They
Absolutely.
got
Oh.
18,000. Yeah, grinder pump.
that, was it Hull, the little island? There's some, I think it was Hull that did it, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Okay, let's
So-
wrap this up.
Thank you.
Danny, do you have anything else to add?
Can you comment on any, cost to the homeowner? Is this gonna be town, paid by the town?
we don't know yet.
That's not my question.
That's not part of this discussion tonight.
I'm just showing a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we can.
Okay, Jimmy, you want to start? Jimmy,
Breath of fresh
would you like to make a motion?
With the guests we have, President Derek, Bob, and Danny, does anybody else have anything to offer, you three?
Mr. Chairman, just so you know, this is, I look at it as, instead of calling it experimental, it's the new technology. So here's the goal, is to get it moving on this section and essentially prove that can work. I am concerned about this section due to, there's been a not so distant past, a bit of an overflow. We know there's some issues. As soon as the full summer community's in there, there's gonna be some real issues. So that's why I think this is the process we need to go with now to see if it works, prove if it works. I've always thought one of the leads for success is working with people smarter than yourself. That's why we have Mr. Drake and Danny here, so.
Okay, can I get a motion on this?
Jimmy,
Yes,
we making a decision now on doing
Yes.
this whole system,
yes.
or just the repair on one Eco?
I don't think so. I think it's the whole project.
I would say we need to go with,
I'm not,
It's the whole project.
I'm not comfortable going with the whole project with the information we have. I
Okay.
love the idea of the repair, and I'd like to go forward with that.
This is for the repairs to Kinko, Murphy, Barnes, Pleasant, Bayview, and what else you said?
Columbia Street. So that is the whole project, Peter?
I am not comfortable with
Okay.
that at all.
All right, so I'll make the motion. The commissioners authorize the TA, town administrator, to enter into an agreement regarding the alternative plan for sewer improvements and repairs presented here tonight.
It's a
For-
motion to.
Yep. Will
I-
somebody second?
Madam Chair, for clarification, I would not say enter into contract, but go through with the process to get this done, if you will. I think enter into contract's very
It says
specific.
agreement in the motion.
Or agreement, I'd say, to take forth to try, and as discussed, we're going to be doing that Kinko section first. And that's really telling us, there might be, while we're down in there, it's feasible to do some more of it that's listed here, because that's obviously cheaper in the long run. I don't want to dig two multiple $350,000 trenches.
What would you say? I withdraw my motion, and what do I replace agreement with?
To take the action necessary.
So what is the motion?
I'm working on it.
What are the
Should I
consequences?
just do Kinko at this point?
No, I would say
Narrow it
one-
as much as possible, I would suggest.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'll try it again. The motion, the commissioners authorize the town administrator to take necessary action regarding the alternative plan for sewer improvement and repairs on the Kinko Ave, Murphy Street, Barnes Street, Pleasant Street, Bayview Ave, and Columbia Street. Presented here tonight.
What are the
Hey, wait a
consequences
second.
of waiting a week? This is an awful lot of technical information, I can agree. It certainly improves it, but it's a lot to digest.
I'm gonna be honest with you. We're gonna try to get an article in for the special town meeting, and that town meeting closes next Thursday,
Yes, I
next
know.
Tuesday,
So we wait till next Thursday.
No,
Good. What are
the
the
town
consequences
meeting,
of doing so?
the town article closes on Tuesday.
Yes.
Our meeting's Thursday.
No, it's the reverse. Tuesday's the weekend after is the 14th, is when it closes. Warrant closes on Monday the 15th, or
So is there anything we can learn about this process between now and then and discuss the funding at Thursday's meeting?
it's not a question of learning, it's a question of thinking.
What alternative do we have?
Yes.
No, there's no comments, please.
I'm sorry, I'm not chairman.
Yeah, you're used to your finance committee chair days.
I really believe we have to start moving on this.
I certainly don't
We have a
disagree.
We have a motion out there, and I will second.
Ooh,
I'm an
Okay, Jimmy,
engineer.
poll, please.
Excuse me?
You have to make a poll of the members. We have a motion and a second.
Bob,
Yes.
Bernie,
I'm an engineer. I've understood a lot of what Danny has said. And in consideration for all those people down at Swift's, I vote yes.
Thank you.
Sandy,
Yes?
Peter,
No.
Jim, yes.
The vote is 4-1-0.
That is very good. That's, okay, and Derek will have something for me to sign for the cancellation of the contract.
Yeah, we'll put something together for them, Mr. Chairman, and then, it'll also authorize me for whatever actions need to be done as Chief Procurement Officer. We did receive
Very
an
good.
email from, Ferrera Construction that they did not have mobilization or, some other costs such as purchasing the grinder pumps yet. They did have some costs and, in the bonding and such, so, you know, I don't wanna debate that here, but I expect a little bit to come our way, but, not a
Yes.
full mobilization, so the sewer commissioners did a nice job by, putting a pause on that and reducing liability.
Okay, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
I should have said, sewer commissioners took Mr. Campina's advice on that, to pause it, so.
Bob, motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Bernie,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes?
Jim, yes. 5-0.
If you have questions, I'll give my phone number. You can call me.